Greetings, one and all. It's me, Robert Phoenix, and we're back for another Astro Weather. Oh, and look who's here. It's the Astro Weather cat. Yes, there she is in all her glory. We were just talking about how Peaches has been around for about 2 years now. Look at you. 2 years worth of three hots and a cot. How's life? How's life with 3 hots and a cot? Pretty good. All right, rise and shine. And if you're in another part of the realm, I hope that your day has been nothing short of spectacular. May you live in interesting times. Oh, you can't hear me. We're back with this again. All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Mic volume is up. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Sound is good. Sound is good. Okay. All right, we're good. Oh, well, how is everyone? How the heck are you? Let's see. Who do we have in the his house? Darling, road trip 1981, checking in. Susie G, she's here. What's happening? There's Jackie Delario, birthday week, 12/21, 1956. But there was nothing anorexic about this body. Oh, well, that's good to know. Well, Jackie, that's the 21st. You get your birthday song. What is that, 4 days from now? We'll hit you up on Thursday, Jackie. But enjoy the week. Enjoy the week. Deborah Wheeler's here. Janice Phillips. Ooh, I like this sunrise pic. It's like the slough where we hunt and fish. Right down the road. Me and Nick had some good times there. By the way, this picture is from New Jersey, believe it or not. This is a sunrise picture from New Jersey. So that's your neck of the woods, Jackie. Liddy Lou is here. What's happening, Liddy Lou? Noor Rashid, the queen of speed. She's back in the mix. Let's see. Who else? Lynette's. It's Lynette's birthday. Lynette, I was scanning YouTube for a birthday song for you. That's why I was a little bit late. A wee bit late. Steve, Zarlith Immortal. He's with us today. It's always good to have a Titan in the house. Let's see. Who else do we have here? A man, another Steve, Thor at the door. Morning back at you. Meow, meow, kitty poop is here. Christina Jersey. Happy Tuesday. I like that. Smash that like button. Thank you, meow, meow. Appreciate that. The lovely and talented one, Saving Austin, 1 tooth at a time. She's here. Dr. Jonas. Big Dave Sullivan in the house. Deborah R. T. Jordan back in the house as well. Kanya Curtis checking in from Greece. By the way, if you are ever interested in any kind of a getaway to Greece and staying at a very, very cool cottages or B&Bs, this is your person right here. And Kanya also is an astrologer. So sometimes they do astrological events at her, what would you call it? I guess sort of a B&B retreat, grotto. So if you're interested in that, DM her. She's got all the details on that. So there you go. Let's see. Sigurd, love and lighter fluid. Yes, indeed. Love and lighter fluid. Like that. Who else do we have? Sandra D is here. Sounds good. Almost Rose in the house. Healing her. In her rose, I send you something. I remind myself to do that. Joan W's here. Catherine Faulkner. Hi, Catherine. That's with the RYN. Oh, it's Sandra Jack Shaw's birthday tomorrow. I get a song last year because it was Monday. You will get one tomorrow, SJS. New Jersey after the dirty bomb. So, man, you are bad. You are really bad. Where in New Jersey did you take this pick? First of all, I didn't take this pick. Most of the picks that are used are not taken by moi. And I try to find the most copyright-free versions as possible. Janine's in the house. What's happening, Janine? Brandy Hedda. Desiree Conrad. I think Desiree new? If not, we'll greet her if she's new anyway. Greetings, Desiree. Mindy Beth is here. Yes, for astrology readings, you know where to go. Right there. That guy. Moira from the Big Apple. Astro Emotion. Telegram Sam. Thanks for the Via Agalista shout out. There it is right there. Right there. That's it right there. If you're interested, that's the place to go. Bo, what's happening, Bo? Barbara Boots is here. Carol Amore, Green Eyed Crow. I think we're up to speed. All right. I think we're good. Good to go. All right, let's do it. Let's get astrologized. Let's get you know what? I don't have it now. Ooh. I got so into our Star of the Day's chart last night that I completely forgot to do the weather chart, which will take me all of 10 seconds. So just hold on here while I do that. By the way, I witnessed another spectacular clothing ripoff at a Ross Dress for Less over on Twitter yesterday. Huge dump. So the boost is on, as they say. Here we go. By the way, people really seem to have enjoyed Friday's bloodletting. And I even left something out. I really should have talked about January 6th. It's another fucking pain in our ass. But I'm surprised the show is still up, to be honest with you. I had some copyright. I had some copyright issues because I was using clips from news. Isn't that bullshit? I mean, if you listen to Jimmy Dore, that's why he plays things at double speed, because he doesn't want to get hit with copyrights. It's ridiculous. Okay, let's zoom in. We know what that's about. Okay, here we go. Let's get back on it. All right, that's us. Right here now. There's no other place that I'd rather be. The sun at 26 Sagittarius. It is conjunct my Jupiter. It was conjunct my Jupiter yesterday. I had a very Jupiterian meal last night, I have to say. It was like a second Thanksgiving, which is the launch of Sagittarius season. So yeah, Sun at 26. We are winding down. Oh, so sad. We're winding down with Sagittarius and moving into Capricorn, ruled by Satan. Well, it's ruled by Saturn. So today we have that Sun Neptune square, which we were talking about on Sunday night, somewhere buried in that 3-hour monologue. But we also have the Sun still in that wide trine with Chiron. But we're going to focus on this for now with the Sun Neptune square. To me, this feels like reality is a bit misty. It's a bit misty. It's a bit foggy. It's a bit fuzzy. It's a bit blurry. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, especially as it relates to something like the drones, which we'll be talking about over on 15 minutes today. Let me just do this one thing here. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of an epiphany. I'm having a bit of an epiphany around the drone stuff in the moment. It was like, oh yeah, there's that. Yet this feels very foggy, fuzzy. It's like, what's reality right now, right? Like, what is the sun theoretically determines the lens through which we're perceiving our current reality astrologically. So all things Sagittarius are supposedly more expansive and philosophical and hardy. Sagittarius is a hardy sign. It's the sign of the belly laugh and deep good humor, right? So I think we need some of that because this drone thing is it's not just weird, okay? I think it's quite dark. And we're going to get into that over on 15. And it's really the beginning of the new COVID. And I'll get into why on 15 minutes. We also have a yod with the sun, with the moon in Cancer right here at 24 and Uranus also at 24, 26, 24, 24. The moon Uranus sextile is a nice aspect, especially with the moon in Cancer, in that final decan, which is the Piscean decan, Cancer. You catch feelings faster today or tonight, wherever you are. I mean, that is the nature of this moon Uranus sextile. You patch up the feelings faster. Uranus is like a turbo. It's like a turbo boost. And it's easier to understand other people's states of being and emotion with this sextile, and it'll happen and continue to be a part of our day and night for the next couple hours. So that it's not hard to apply some understanding and some empathy and it's a very interesting one. I talked about this the other night on Sunday night, how Sagittarius and Cancer are such strange bedfellows as signs. And, invariably, bring something like this up, and somebody chimed in and said, well, I'm a Cancer, my husband's a Sagittarius, and it's worked out great. And they were very effusive about their sex life as well, and how that's been such a great thing between them for all these years. Hey, you got to applaud that, right? So as far as how this works with the yod, there's like a yearning, I think. There's like a yearning for the past. Because Sagittarius is like, okay, let's go over that. Let's see what's over that hill. Let's leave the world behind. But Cancer is the world, right? Cancer is the home. So this is a day where in the night, during these next few hours, where there may be a sense of melancholy, that maybe things aren't going to be the way they used to be. And I think there's a very strong case to be made for that. Like, the emergence of these drones is not good. And it's not just to frighten us or distract us. I think that there's something much, much more malevolent going on here. And I mean, think of a world where we didn't have these things. Now we have this existential threat that's floating around. And this is that moon in conjunct with the sun. The moon in Cancer is kind of yearning for the past in a lot of ways, right? But it's also competing with the future, because Uranus is the future. So we have the past and the future meeting together, right, with the sun here in the inconjunct. And that can also apply to your own life, and holding on to things that are comfortable and near and dear. But at the same time, the future is rattling its bells. So this is a very tricky inconjunct in a lot of ways. And Sagittarius being a mutable sign, and these are, this is cardinal and this is fixed. So you have the triplicities in action here. And Sagittarius being a mutable sign wants to be able to make changes, wants to be able to adapt, and wants to be able to, edit, right? That's the nature of mutability. And with Sagittarius, there's always a lesson involved, where it's like a life lesson. It's like, if I do this, I'm going to learn something greater and deeper about who I am and my connection to the cosmos, right? And so this yod is really powering this today. And I do believe that there's a sense of restlessness that goes along with it. So then you get the Sun-Neptune square, and, that makes it even more tricky or difficult to sort of, chart a course of action. Well, I know that I have to do this thing, and I know I need to move forward, but then there's this tendency to lean back into the past. And with the Neptune square, it feels like there's, like not an easy way forward, right? Now, the good news is that Mercury's gone direct right there, and it is right in alignment with Mars, which is going retrograde. So there is a path to action, right? And in this case, because Mercury is still kind of in that the final degree tip wide zone of a trine with Neptune, you're really going to get this today, that you have to trust your intuition. This is all about trusting one's intuition. And I think it's hard to make changes during Mars retrograde. But if you're going to make some significant change, today would be one of those days, right? And again, feeling impelled to do so with this inconjunct is just going to add more intensity to it. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. And as Mercury moves back into position with this opposition with Jupiter and the square with Saturn, That brings up a whole other dynamic here, which is around speech and free speech and being able to share information. And if this drone thing is what it appears to be, and what what I've been able to essentially break down through various sources, it's going to get harder and harder to have free speech here. And we may see this a lot more quickly than we would like with this Mercury Saturn square. And we're about 7 days away from that. So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Mercury moves right into that tight square with Saturn, right into that tight opposition with Jupiter, and Jupiter in Gemini is retrograde. So that's not, I don't think this is a really good aspect. Like, I can't really spin this to, to sort through a bunch of dirt to find a tiny little nugget of gold. Like, this one is a challenging aspect, right? When you take in what's going on out there in the atmosphere, and then this transit, it doesn't feel great. Put it that way. But I do think today is one of those days. I think it's a leap before you look kind of day. If you're just leaning into Neptune, right, and you're leaning into that Mercury Mars trine, and it's not the easiest, again, because Mars is retrograde, so you may meet some resistance. Let's say you make a decision about something in your life that's quite important, and you're clear and you're fixed, and then all of a sudden the person you're making the decision with changes the terms and conditions of your decision. Then what? Let's say you're making a decision because something in your life is not agreeable, and then the other person says, let's make it more agreeable. Then what do? Now we're in a real test, aren't we? Now it's like, oh, you mean I'll get to make more money? Oh, my hours will be less intrusive in my life? You mean I'll have more quality of life and I'll make more money? Look, things are always open to negotiation. And if you need to make a change later on, you can still do that. Maybe this is what it opens up. So this is a very interesting day. Very interesting day, especially with this yod. You can just see that right there. In the past, the moon is the past and hanging on, and Uranus is the future, and it's impelling, right, the sun here to move forward. This is a very interesting dynamic. Not easy. It is not easy. Now, remember, Mars is creeping back into that opposition with Pluto, which I do not like. That is something that I'm not, when one of the things I was getting into on Sunday night was, I was really looking at some attraction between the discovery of uranium and then plutonium, which of course is in the dialogue, right? Radiation. It's in Cliff High's language sets, right? And this Mars retrograde opposite Pluto is not something, again, that I'm looking forward to. Now, nothing may happen, but the sense of something happening, the sense of this next shoe about to drop, it's in the air. It is in the air. So, we're just going to keep tracking this, right? as Mars keeps moving backwards. Venus is in Aquarius, and it's moved into the second decan, Gemini. So it's very chatty, a lot of chitter chatter. And Venus is trining Jupiter, and it's sextiling Mercury. So get ready, lots of news, lots of information to go through, almost too much of an information overload. So for all of you information junkies out there, get ready. There's a lot to process here. In terms of relationship, it's always interesting to have conversation with Aquarius because people to so if you need to have, and this is going to be true for a few days, right? Mercury's just a tad. It's slow because I'm in retrograde. It's always just a little tad faster than Aquarius. So Mercury's going to be in that nice sextile zone for a while, at least a week and a half, as the two of them kind of move forward together. So having these discussions can be quite good. And the thing with Venus and Aquarius is that people don't get attached as much, right? Like there's more objectivity when it comes to sharing. Now, the downside is that you can just get too casual and just sort of take your position or another person's position for granted. And that doesn't always work out well, right? So, but I do think communication is highlighted, and asking questions is always a good thing, right? The thing with Mercury and Sagittarius, it asks questions, but the questions are big questions. You know what I mean? It's like nature of the universe, nature of self, those kinds of questions. That's Sagittarius. It's not Mercury and Gemini's small questions, or Mercury in Libra, which is going to be interrogative with relationships. Right? But it does ask questions. And when it's sextile Venus here, and even sextiling Pluto, like the big question, who are we? Where are we going? What's our relationship all about? It's not necessarily a bad thing, especially with Venus coming in and trining Jupiter. There's a lot to talk about. The challenge here is this is so heady, right? And on the one hand, you can have a discussion with a high degree of objectivity. On the other hand, it could also be very impersonal, and it can be very, very mental. But the moon sextile Uranus, again, the moon is our emotional augur, and the sextile with Uranus is great. And the moon is trining Neptune. There's a lot of empathy today, right? This is an interesting day. This is a very, very interesting day. There's a lot of empathy. And I think with the right connection, the right relationship, the right communication, you can move mountains today. Things that have seemed like, stumbling blocks in terms of communication can be overcome. So don't sleep on that. I think it's a good one. I think the biggest challenge that we're dealing with is sort of the fog of reality with the Sun Neptune square and this future past kind of dilemma with the inconjunct. And again, this T square with Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, that's ongoing. That's like a storm front, and we're just going to continue to watch that. Yeah, and again, this Venus Jupiter trine is like super generous. I love this. It's very generous. And even like Jupiter and Gemini retrograde, and remembering, people or situations where others have been generous to us, and you pass it along. I also think it's interesting here that we're coming up on the holidays, and what is Gemini? It's siblings. And we will have let's see, what's today? The 17th. So it's 8 days. So basically, it's 2 days per degree with Venus, just if you were keeping score at home, right? So 2 days per degree, 8 days. So that's 4 degrees from now, right? So it'll be 15, 16 on the dot, right around Christmas, and going right in, literally right into that trine with Jupiter. And Mercury will be there too. Mercury will probably be around 14 or 15. So we'll still have this kind of little wing action going on here. And if you wanted, again, we've had this discussion many times on this channel and dealing with the after effects of COVID and the Trump administration and Trump being reelected. I do think that this is a period where you can more or less get closer. You may not be on the same page, but you may be in the same chapter. So, if you're somebody who is invested in that, stay open to it. It could happen. Life is such a funny thing. I think you could make a case for leaving it all behind, right? And I know there are people, I have clients, I've just left it all behind. I don't talk to anybody from my family or my past. I completely get it. I really don't. I mean, my immediate family is all passed away, and my relatives are people that I have much in common with. So there's nothing for me to really chitter chatter about. That's just more by design than by decision. But a lot of you have made decisions to cut yourself off from your family members. And they've made decisions as well, right? And sometimes they're mutual. So, and that's fine. Like there's something liberating about leaving the matrix of one's family behind, because it allows you to discover who you are without the cords and attachments of those people who constantly have tried to define you, right? So there's something very liberating about that. On the other hand, there's also a case to be made that it would be good to take care of unfinished business and to be able to, at the very least, reconcile some position or some degree of separation. And then at that point, you can make your choice at your leisure, because you're doing it more out of a sense of, okay, we're complete, we're good now, and I don't have to have any more contact with you, versus the immediacy of, I can't handle these people anymore. And their vision of the world is so drastically and radically different than mine that it feels like, cement galoshes when I step into it. They're very different. And I think both are valid. And I think over the holidays, people will have an opportunity to tap into that. It's going to be very, very vocal over the holidays. Lots of communication. Even if you're not in one physical space together, I would expect that there would be a lot of communication between people. Now, the other thing too, though, is we got this Mercury-Saturn square. That's another part of this. And that's going to affect communication as well. And I wonder if that's a broader effect versus just being able to connect with another person that you know and theoretically love or have loved at one point in time. All right, let's get into our star of the day. Very interesting star of the day. But before I do, I got to get the banner up. So let's get that banner. Oh, it's already there. All right. So today's True Hemp Science star of the day is none other than Bob Guccione. This is not the one I wanted. Hold on. Gosh darn it. Hold on. Okay, I can remedy this. I can remedy this. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on there. There it is right there. All right. Let me put this up. Sometimes people split for this section. You're going to want to stick around today, though. Today's really fascinating. Anyway, it's brought to you by True Hemp Science, your one-stop shop for all things CBD. And Chris gets very, very busy around Christmas time. And so if you want to get your order in, you should probably get it in soon. And what you'll get with your order, if you order $100 or more and type in 15MINS, you will get the goodie bag. These are 2 items that show up in the goodie bag, or a variant of the 2. You got your Starlight gummies, you got your Doze, great stuff. The best CBD. And as I mentioned on Sunday night show, Chris won the best CBD shop in Austin. How about that? Maybe some of you had something to do with that. And if that's the case, well, thank you very much. I know Chris thanks you as well. And you probably did it because you were able to experience the quality of the CBD, right? That's what it's about. So if you order $150 or more, you get free shipping, and there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go check them out. TrueHempScience.com. All right. Bob Guccione is our True Hemp Science star of the day. And this Guccione is a very interesting character. Super interesting character. Many of you know that he is the publisher of Penthouse magazine. And you can see his chart. He is so deep in his chart. Now, Guccione was born in Brooklyn, and eventually he winds up in England. And he meets a gal there over in England because he's an artist. Like Bob Guccione's an artist. And he moves to England and he gets married. And he has this kind of a regular job over in England. But you can see like the 9th house, Pluto and Jupiter up there, moving to, 9th house, moving to a new place, right? Like I was born in France and I have Pluto and Uranus in my 9th house. And so I left France and I moved to the United States when I was young, right? So, but there's always a connection with other places in other countries with strong 9th house placements. So Guccione starts writing cartoons for a newspaper over there, and they're political cartoons. And eventually he becomes a photographer, and quite good, by the way. And his wife women play a huge role in Bob Guccione's life. His first wife is responsible for him starting Penthouse magazine. And he's theoretically married to 3 women in his life. His second wife is really responsible for the growth of the magazine. And she winds up dying of cancer. And he wrote extensively about cancer and the cancer industry. And Guccione is fascinating in this way. So let's talk about Penthouse, right? So Pluto is sex, and Jupiter expands everything. And if you go back and look at Penthouse, there were things about Penthouse that separated it from Playboy from a stylistic perspective. Usually Penthouse, the women, I believe, were bustier And with Penthouse, you would get full frontal. Like you saw the curly cues of the pubic hair, right? Like that was a first. You just didn't see that in Playboy. You also got way more of the buttocks region in Penthouse was just more graphic. But because Guccione was a photographer, and he took a lot of those photos, by the way, he would always use sort of soft lighting. The photos would be a little bit misty. So it was this combination of kind of a more hardcore representation of nudity, but with softer and kind of more intimate and slightly, I don't know, artistic flourishes. He was different that way, right? But, Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, he's profiting off of erotica, right? And then we bring the moon and Venus in. This is his relationship with the women in his life. Like Bob Guccione does not have an empire without his 3 wives. 2 wives, and then his final gal. I don't think they were completely married. But this is also publishing, right? So he makes a huge amount of money with publishing. Huge. And he's very different than Hugh Hefner, right? Hugh Hefner's on the West Coast, and Bob Guccione's East Coast. And Hugh Hefner's all about parties and the Playboy Mansion. And Bob Guccione had a 22,000 square foot mansion in Manhattan. It was the largest living residence in Manhattan. Like it not just rivaled Donald Trump's Trump Tower, it was bigger, right? In some ways, Guccione was Trump before Trump, even though they're in different like worlds in terms of money and how they got it. And he has huge losses monetarily, huge. He makes investments in really bad operations. Like he wanted a version of the Playboy Club, but he wanted it to be on this island off the coast of Yugoslavia, and spent a huge amount of money, like $50 million. And this is like 1980s $50 million. So you crank that up now, and it's even bigger, right? And I think he over leveraged everything in his publishing empire, and you can see it, right? You can see it with it, more, and both of these planets are retrograde. So eventually, everything he gets, he winds up losing, and he goes deeply into debt. And since he's into art and he has all this money, he has to auction off all of his art. And really, he's got Picasso's and Dali's, and then it happens during, he's going through this financial crisis, and it's happening during 9/11. And so the market's depressed, and he doesn't get as much money from it, right? But he has all these notes due, and he has to make good on them. He's a very macho guy. He's got that Mars and Leo, and Mars in the 10th house. That's about men, right? And appealing to men. And he's got that Sun Mars trine. Guccione's kind of macho, cowboy boots. The interesting thing about Guccione is that, Playboy was always into sports. Hugh Hefner, another fire sign, Aries. The Playboy All-American team. They would have that. Guccione didn't like sports. Playboy, their articles tended to be fairly conservative, whereas in Penthouse, Guccione hired writers that were investigative writers. They would take on conspiracies in Penthouse. Seymour Hersh, Cy Hersh, was a contributor to Penthouse magazine. So it's all, the things that he published, right? Like he got into the government. He got into, get down here with that Mercury Saturn conjunction, in that third house, writing. This is all going to relate back to penthouse. And then over here, we have the opposition with Pluto, Jupiter, and exposing things inside the government. And he's shocking, like Guccione is shocking. Mercury, Uranus square, Saturn, Uranus square. And he's got his true node in Aries. And he's going to self-actualize. That's his thing, right? Fearless. He's got a very interesting chart. Neptune in the 11th house. Mercury, Neptune trine, Saturn, Neptune trine. I mean, you can kind of see this with his photography. Like the soft lens, the soft focus of Neptune, right? And he loved beauty. He loved art. Libra rising. His son, Bob Guccione Jr., started Spin Magazine. And they had a falling out. But eventually, by the time Guccione's life comes to an end, of all places, Plano, Texas, because he was in a hospital for cancer, they had mended their ways. Now, when his second wife was dying of cancer, he really got into it. Like he took her to an alternative treatment facility in Mexico. He believed that there was a cancer industry. He believed that the allopathic, dark mages, that they knew what cancer was, and all the money that was being spent to cure cancer was just a huge cash grab. And I tend to agree with him, by the way. I tend to agree with him. So he was castigated during that period of time. And people thought, well, you're just a loony conspiracy theorist. But I think Guccione was onto something. He's a fascinating character. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. All right. So he produced one of the most controversial movies of the 20th century. It was a retelling of Caligula. And he didn't direct it, but he produced it. And it had some fairly high-profile people. Malcolm McDowell played Caligula. Helen Mirren's, and a lot of English actors. And when I put Caligula's chart next to Guccione's in the Sinistry model here, I am convinced that Bob Guccione was Caligula. And I don't make these claims casually. But if you go back here, right, you can see, where did he go? You can see, like, this is who he is posing with. He's posing with Caligula. So let's look at this. For me, the first tell, this is Caligula on the outer ring. Pluto and Leo. I'm sorry, Libra. And this is Guccione's South Node. This is the past, right? This is the past. And he has Pluto. Caligula has Pluto right at that midpoint between Guccione's ascendant and his South Node. Hello. Come on. Come on. Right there, we got a direct hit in terms of past life, Pluto, the resurrection, and then Saturn, right? Caligula, Saturn's in his first house. He does a biopic, basically, of Caligula. What else do we have? Well, Caligula's South Node is conjunct Guccione's Moon and Venus. What is the moon? It is the past. So we have essentially, dueling South Nodes here, and they are in a lock and groove with identity, right? Guccione's identity. Let's go over here. This is really interesting, right? So Caligula's true node is on Guccione's Chiron. That's so fascinating, right? Chiron and Taurus, the body. And what is Caligula, the movie, all about? Ooh, the excesses of the body. So we have that there, right? But there's more. Wait, there's more. Caligula's Venus and Vertex. Well, actually, let's go with Venus on Guccione's Pluto Jupiter. Hello, right? Relationship with Pluto Jupiter. Not just sex, but it's in Cancer, and that's the past. Not only that, but they both have Mars in Leo. Look at that. And Caligula's moon is conjunct Guccione's midheaven. Again, the moon being the past, right? And then finally, to top it all off, Caligula's sun conjunct Guccione's Neptune. And that is a very, very thin veil between this historical figure and this man, Bob Guccione. This, to me, this is one of the best cases I've seen of a historical figure being so connected to a current historical figure that I don't believe there's any coincidence here. Bob Guccione was Caligula. And when he was making that movie, he was basically filming scenes from his past, literally, right? Literally. All right. There's your True Hemp Science star of the day. Let's get into a birthday song for our dear friend, Lynette. Let's see. What is Lynette like? Lynette likes dogs. She's a dog person. So let's see if we can get a little dog action here for Lynette. I'm going in blind. Deaf and blind. I haven't heard any of these. So I'm just looking at ones that I think would be interesting or cute. I think cute. When you get into dog birthday songs, it's not about interesting. It's about cute. All right. This is for our dear friend Lynette. Wishing her a happy solar return. And away we go. Some very cute photos in there. And who doesn't like dogs? Everybody loves a dog at some point in time in their life, right? All right, Lynette, happy solar return. Go get them. Stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll have Sandra Jack Shaw's happy birthday song and more. Thanks for being here. Take good care of yourselves. Treat each other well. God bless. Everybody who's bought me coffee, thank you for doing that. I appreciate you. And even if you haven't, I appreciate you anyway. Take good care. God bless. Bye for now.